Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hello Dave. We're gonna start this week out in Elite, where we have a lot to talk about as we last week got update 14, and with that also the arrival of the Stargoids. This update has been mostly very positively received. I mean, looking at just the raw numbers from the Steam charts, if we look at numbers prior to update 14 and the game numbers now of active players playing through Steam, before update 14, we would peak at around 6,000 to 7,000 players, and now it's up over 10,000. So there's been a noticeable increase in the number of players in Elite, and overall I've seen a lot of players who seem to have a lot of fun with the update, myself included. Now 10,000 players is actually quite a bit of a milestone, as this is the largest number of active players we have seen since after the whole exodus after Odyssey. Obviously, there was a huge spike right after Odyssey came out, but after that there was a steep decline in player numbers. And after that decline, we've not seen player numbers like this. So this is nice to see that Elite is pulling back a little bit. I know that right after updates there will always be a peak, and often it will die down a little bit, but hopefully it's pulled some players back in, as there is now a lot to do. And even if you're not into Thargoid combat, there's still a lot of things to do. But more about that in a second, because Frontier has also confirmed both update 15 and 16 will be coming. We don't have any exact dates, or we don't know anything about what the updates exactly is going to contain, but we know that they are there, which is a really nice thing. We've previously had this situation where Frontier would launch an update and then they wouldn't just mention whether there were any more updates at any point at all for like months, and we're just sitting there in the dark for a long time. So knowing now that that there is updates coming, whether that's going to be in a few months or in half a year, I don't know, but just knowing that they're there is nice, so that you know that there's something coming in the future. But update 14 also brought a bit of a mess. The background simulation went haywire after update 14, where some systems would see influence jumps that would be like over multiple days. They have acknowledged that there was a problem with the BGS, and they also said that they were looking into it. But unfortunately, this is quite common. This is something we often see around patch days, that the whole background simulation just goes completely haywire and just messes up for a few days after. Now let's move over to some of the more in-game news from Elite Dangerous. With the arrival of the Stargoids that we now know is called Thargoid Maelstroms, the war against the Thargoid has gone into a completely new phase and is now full-on frontal war. The Thargoids, they are gone gloves off, and they're now beginning to take territory. They're no longer just curious, looking at us, trying to figure out what kind of technology we have, that kind of thing. They are angry. And they're really angry. They really did not like that Proteus wave when that went off. There is, of course, a number of systems that's now been taken over by the Thargoids, and humankind is now fighting to maintain control over these systems. But even if you're not into Thargoid combat, if that is not your thing, there is plenty of other things for you to do. There is a lot of rescue missions if you're more into like the more trade holding kind of thing. Doesn't matter the dangers, as you might have to go into Thargoid infested territories and save passengers there and transport them safely to megaships. That's a thing you can do. But there are lots of other things. There's a lot of research that needs to be done, and if you feel like venturing to dangerous territories, the new systems that's been taken over by these Maelstroms, there's a lot of stuff to go and discover and explore in there. I have a number of things that I want to go and try to take a look at myself. More about that, about the live stream tomorrow, but lots of stuff to do. But there's one thing here that I really think is important, and that is that now the whole community is coming together from all different player groups and player factions are coming together to fight the Thargoids. However, we as a community, as humankind in Elite Dangerous, we are susceptible to what's called defeat in detail. That means, if you are familiar with the art of war, that means defeat in details means that you defeat an army larger, more powerful than your own, by simply splitting up their forces in smaller chunks and defeating those small chunks one at a time. And because we as a community and humanity in the game, we are divided into many smaller factions, if we do not coordinate our efforts, we are susceptible to being defeated in detail. let's say a player faction goes out and fight for a station, say we want to save that station from Thargoid attack. You can't win it half. If you lose it, all that effort is lost. Therefore, I think it's super important, and we've seen this begin to already happen, that we begin to coordinate our efforts across player factions. And this is something that started pretty much right after update 14 with the Antocene initiative calling out system targets, basically say, hey, we're going to focus on this system in this prioritized order. But in order to make it easier to help, there's some of the guys that I think they originated over from the Canon Research Discord server, who has created a server called the Defense Council of Humanity, where player groups send representatives in and then coordinate our efforts in there. And there's also be feeds coming directly from aUEC in there, where we can see systems that are being called out. But just, we have a central place now where player faction and player groups can go, and we can use that to coordinate our efforts so that we try to avoid splitting our forces out too thin, but focus on areas one at a time, and make sure that those areas we focus in is going to be one for humanity. So if you represent a player group, if you represent a player minor faction, you have plans to go and take part in the Thargoid conflict, whether that is just ferrying passengers out, or whether it's going full-on combat mode, or whether it's going and doing research, I'll be posting a link in the description to that Discord server where you can send a few guys over to try and coordinate this effort. And yeah, hopefully that means that we're going to be successful in this upcoming war against the Thargoids. Now some news over from Inara. With update 14, Elite was of course split into live and legacy mode, where live is everybody playing with the new codebase, new 4.0 codebase, so Horizon 4.0 and Odyssey are now in live. Everybody else, people playing Horizon 3.8, that includes console, is now considered legacy. And what Inara has done now is they said, for now, they are only supporting live. That means if you go into Inara and you look up system states, if you look up market data, if you look up anything BGS related in there, or where are fleet carriers located, those kind of things, those data will only be coming from the live side of the game and not the legacy side. They said that they may, at some point in the future, also make a legacy version of it so that they can support legacy as well. But for now, Inara is only supporting the live version of the game, meaning that if you are playing, for instance, if you're one of the people still left behind on console, just be aware that market data on places like Inara and all those other sites, they may no longer be valid or no longer be accurate to the galaxy that you are playing in. Now, before we talk about tomorrow's live stream, I just have a few pieces of news from Star Citizen. There is going to be a rebalance of ballistics weapons and distortion weapons with update 3.18. Previously, ballistic weapons had the ability to partly penetrate through shields. It was one of the things that makes the ballistics weapons very, very strong, that they could go through shields and just go straight into the hull of the ship. Now with 3.18, they're gonna get buffed. So now that they can pretty much, any ballistic weapon is gonna fully penetrate any shields of any strength with only a very few % of the damage being mitigated by the shields. This is a bit of a problem. It depends how you look at it, of course, but the problem is that ships don't really have armor yet. It's not really been implemented, the concept of armor. And that means that when you're being shot at, that damage goes straight to your hull and begins straight tearing away at your ship. Now, the balancing factor is, of course, the ammo capacity, as ballistic weapons often have limited amount of ammo. They can't just keep shooting for hours and hours. You have to go back and rearm them from time to time. And often they will have very limited amount of ammo, will run out quite quickly. So for PvE, I will still see ballistics being a strong choice. But for PvP, it's pretty much a no-brainer. And the problem is, no matter what you're flying, you can fly a big honking ship with massive shields, doesn't matter. The people, they show up with some ballistic weapons. All those shields are just dead weight, basically. They're useless, as the ballistic weapons are gonna go straight through. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I think the easiest solution is, like, short-term easy solution would be to reduce the ammo capacity. of ballistic weapons. It's not going to help much with the PvP situation, as they only really need ammo to kill one ship. But at least for PvE, it's going to make it a little bit more balanced there. The better solution would be to get armor implemented into the game, so that even though ballistic weapons may go straight through shields, then they would just encounter the ship's armor plating that they would have to go through, kind of balancing it out like that. There's also some changes to the distortion weapons. Now, in the past, the way distortion weapons would work was you would shoot at the ship, and as you kind of accumulated these distortion points on the enemy ship, the power plant would slowly begin to reduce its power output. That means if you were running a ship with a tight power budget where you were beginning to take distortion damage, you begin to see modules shut off here and there. That's being changed with 3.18, so instead you still accumulate these distortion points, kind of a hidden counter behind the scenes. When that counter reaches a certain threshold, the whole power plant is just going to shut off, like that. Whole ship just goes black, and you're just floating in space. And it's going to be stayed off. It will take 5 minutes for it to recover. This is done to kind of try and encourage the new boarding action mechanics that's going to be, I think, of larger and larger focus in update 3.18 and going forward. So the idea is that you can go up with distortion weapons that's not directly going to destroy the ship, but it's going to just disable it. And then you can send people over, EVA over with guns, and try to take this ship over through boarding action, and then eventually steal the cargo, steal the ship, whatever you want. That's the idea. So interesting change. I have not played a lot with distortion weapons, but sounds like when 3.18 comes around, that might be something I have to look into. Okay, so sorry for the noise in the background. There's some angry bunnies over there. But there is one more piece of information I just want to share with you regarding Star Citizen, and that is that it's now been confirmed what we have been suspecting for a very long time, and that is that 3.18 is going to contain a full wipe. Everybody's pretty much been expecting it, so it's not a big surprise for anyone, but now it's been officially confirmed that there is going to be a full wipe of your account with update 3.18. 3.18 should be just around the corner. I'm actually not sure whether it's still this year or if it's the beginning of next year, but it should be pretty close to seeing that come out. I think maybe it's beginning of next year. I don't quote me on it. In the not too distant future, you should expect to see a full wipe of your account. That means that all ships you purchased in game will be removed. Money you've made in game will be removed. Not sure if they're gonna reset rank progression for unlocking missions, those kind of things. They have it in the past, even when they're done full wipes. They may do it this time. I'm not sure. But at least ships, weapons, armor, money you've collected, all that stuff is going to be gone with up to 3.18, and you're going to have to go and collect that again. Okay, live stream. So lots of things going on with live stream tomorrow. First of all, I'm going to be playing some Elite Dangerous. I want to spend a little bit more time researching the new Maelstroms, not the Maelstroms themselves, but the systems that they are in. I want to go and check if there's anything else that changed in the system. I spent quite a bit of time this weekend playing around with the Maelstroms themselves. I've made a farming guide that's going to come out later this week, where how to go and farm some of the new materials that can be found in there. But I also want to go and explore the surrounding system, see if things have changed. What does the new surface settlements look like? All that stuff. Can we call an APEX shuttle in there? Those kind of things. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna go and play around with it and see what the game has to offer, basically. But there's a lot of other things going on. If you watched Frontier's live stream on Thursday, you will know that there's now a number of new seasonal paint jobs available as Twitch drops. You should now also be able to get those Twitch drop paint jobs through by actually watching my live stream on Twitch. So there is, I think, 4 new paint jobs with this purple snow colored themed, Christmas themed paint jobs you can get. And I believe you get from for half an hour, or something like that. There's the more time you watch, the more paint jobs you get, basically. If you don't like watching on Twitch, don't worry, I got you. As Frontier has also provided me with 10 codes that I can give away that also gives you access to those 4 paint jobs. So if you don't like watching on Twitch, but you still want yourself some nice paint jobs, maybe you have multiple accounts and you want to have paint jobs on multiple accounts, head over to the Discord server. It's at discord.d2a.com. It's in the description of this video. And if you go over there, there will be a stream giveaway channel. If you go into that, there will be a post about it with a little celebration icon. You click the icon and then you are signed up, and then I believe it's on the 15th of December. It draws a lucky winner, or actually 10 lucky winners. That's then going to get these paint job packs. I'm gonna send you a code. You can redeem that kind of stuff. So if you want to see some more update 14 stuff and some more research focused stuff, then the live stream is tomorrow, and it is at 8 o'clock GMT, 8 p.m. I should say GMT, and it's live stream of course on YouTube and on Twitch. That was a long hello, Dave, but also that's a bit for today. Thanks for watching, and also next time I'll see you guys in space.